guys, how are you doing today? I'm trying to keep up with the names that I saw come by. So, hi, Mary R. Hi, Annette. Hi, Roberta. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Thelma. Hi, Betty. Um, am I missing anybody? I think, yes, I think so.
Mary Lynn is out there though.
Okay. Hello, Mary Lynn. If we missed you in that process, there you are. And Irene. And anybody else? Okay. So today, I'm going to kind of run you guys a little bit fast in order to get as much as we possibly can in. So I recommend that while there are things that you will be able to do with me, especially if you did some fussy cutting, you're going to find that you might have to watch areas, set yours aside, and then come back. So I'm going to do the best at taking some time. And besides, I'm really slow at putting things together. So that might get you guys caught up to where I am in any particular moment because you guys are all pros at this. Okay, so this week we are doing the Tattered Lace Box 60. Whoop, there we go, right there. And in this is their 50th issue. So they had a special gift that they gave for their 50th issue. And that is a CD that's on the inside. And it has a die of a little van. Has a die of a little van, and it has this CD. And I will tell you, I think that there's well over 80, not, no, yeah, I think there's 80 pages that you can print out from this. Hi, Kat.
Mary R says it's a jam-packed kit.
Yes, there's a lot going on. So I felt like I could have called it the him and hers. She gets the teacup, he gets the van. But I thought, no, we better just stick with the name. So the Tattered Lace CD, it's not a USB, so I'm not sure how many of you have CDs out there. But the CD has quite a bit on it. And you just put it into your computer, you open up the CD, and you can download the backgrounds as well as the different vans. And I'm pointing this out to you because I didn't have the opportunity to print a whole bunch of them, but I don't know if you can zoom in a little bit there, Bryce. But if you, there we go. It these are just three more. Excuse me. Wow, six. I can't even count. Six more of the different styles of the vans, and they have anything from carpentry to florist to you name it. So there's lots of options. There's the pizza one, and I have a feeling, like I mentioned yesterday, for me, I would probably choose the pizza one and give it to the guy that has been delivering our pizzas for the last oh, has it been 8 or 9 years since we moved here? Something along those lines. Anyways, you can do this card that we're going to be making today with the vans, or any other card that you want. There's also online, if you go to the Tattered Lace magazine issue 50, it will take you to the dies and show you the die of the van and of the flower. And they had some extra backing papers, not extra vans, but they had extra backing papers that have, and I wanted to show you these, that have some of the US style vehicles, because a lot of their police, ambulance, they look different than ours do. So there was this one backing paper. Now you cannot get your van to look like one of these, but you could print it out with white and then color them and send these to police, firemen, ambulance drivers, emergency drivers, to say thank you. And I know that there are people that are doing um, this already. I know that a couple of you had actually some ideas of saying thank you to the police departments. So I wanted to specifically show you one of the backing papers that they have. So there's lots and lots on those CDs. And I hope that you have the chance to explore that a little bit more. So that is the CD portion and the van portion of this. Um, and then for the teacup, you would go into that same area um, of the online section, Tattered Lace Magazine 50. If you just search that in Google, you will get there. And at the very bottom of the page will be your downloads for being able to print out. You have in your kit today the magazine, the 2 sets of dies, the CD. You get a pack of papers, and this is the one that you have in your actual package. You get 6 of the teacups in that. But as you can see from our kit, we have all the different colors that they offer. So if you'll look through, you'll find pink and blue and purple, and there's kind of a peachish color in there as well. This is a couple more of our backing pages, and you will need this whole sheet that you see right here out of your magazine. We're going to do fussy cutting of 1. And like I warned you ahead of time, if you can get that fussy cutting done of the blue poppy, the white one, and the fern, you will be a little bit further ahead so that we can kind of move through this and be able to get everything done. The neat thing that Tattered Lace does is that they have this piece with the flower, and up here you've got the pink. And if you turn the page, right there, you will now have the flower on the top and the pink on the bottom. So if we were not doing fussy cutting, you would actually have access to both pages, one for one print and one for the other. So it's kind of their way of being able to offer you some extras. And if you like one print more than the other, then you can use it. I'm also going to have you tear out this page, and we're going to use the bottom sun. And then we have some beautiful roses, some background colors. This gold fleck chevron is really an interesting picture. It actually picks up and makes it look very glittery without having any glitter on this page whatsoever. And this is 2 separate ones as well. You can see that there's a marking right here, more so in person than you can see on the camera. And then there are some bright colors, lots of fun, some greens. Okay. And then in the magazine itself, of course, there's always examples for being able to use some of your prints. They show you different ways that you can do that. At the very beginning, they also have the teacup pieces. And I try to make sure that I don't open the magazine until I've already made my cards. Because sometimes you already see these examples. So for me to make something that looks really close to this, you're not getting your money's worth, right? Here's a whole extra part of us being able to create something that doesn't look anything like it. So I hope that you can enjoy and make extras of these all you want, and keep in mind you can make them in any of the different colors. So that is my spiel about what we're doing today. And I could show you what's all in the kit. We've got this full piece right here, some of the papers that are already in there. And then you will find in your packet, there is a stencil that has a house shape and then a stair step shape. Make sure that you don't just stick this on your paper and start trying to cut it out ahead of time because I wanted to show you something that's really a little bit different and that you have to think about before you start cutting into the papers for this particular card. So it will make more sense here in just a little bit when we tackle it. Okay, so we've got, and these are just on regular copy paper, but yours are on cardstock. We have the blues, the pinks, the purples. And you'll notice that on some of these, the printer, for whatever reason, even though I had it on A4 and I sent out A4 pages, some of these are cut off just a little bit on the edge. And I promise you, for what we're doing today, that is okay. You will not need every single one of these to be a full teacup or a full flower. Here's your peach, peaches, maybe orangish peach. You guys decide. And then there are your backgrounds. So you've got lots of different backgrounds again that match. So there's a peach, there's a purple, the blue. Did I say peach already? Sorry. This is the pink. And this is the peach. So they look very similar. And you will notice that even in the blue ones, you've got some lavenders and the lighter roses. So those will come in handy. Let me set these aside. You also will have received 3/4 of a page of classic card pieces. One is already cut out for you in a square shape, and the other one is half of the page. And make sure that I put it back in the right one. And then you also will have in your papers, here we go. You will have a background sheet of just this comes as part of the download. You've got a purple and you have a blue and a pink. And these two, I believe, are on the same page like this. Like this. I'm going to have to remember that I have to work on the left side of the desk. Okay. So anyways, there are the extra pieces for that you will have found in your kit. You will also find 1/3 of a page of our wood veneer, 18 inches of ribbon, this peachish colored ribbon, and then you have some stickers. You'll have a full sheet of your dazzles for our Scooby-Doo house. And you'll have 4 of each van. So I just pulled out 2 because that's what I did. And then you should find, please keep in mind that these are not as thick of a cardstock. There's nothing wrong with it. I wanted you to be able to do a couple different things, and we need some more maneuverability, and the thicker cardstock would have made it a little bit harder. So there's that. And then this page that is, it's little trees. It's for the landscaping one, but I thought, what better to go with some fresh delivery. And then last one is this printout of trees for the background. So I think that is everything. You've got a couple of sayings in sticker form too. I believe that you should have 3 of those total, and then a half of a 2mm of the 5x5 pack. So along with every single card that we have in here. So there's a total of 5. There is no way I will get all the way through 5, but I will do my best. Okay.
Cool. Well, let's do a card.
Let's go.
Let's have some fun.
Alrighty. Yes, I think it goes in that one. Maybe not. Okay, so I'm going to start with the vans, and part of the reason for that is that they're pretty quick pretty fast, and they're a lot easier than you initially think. I went ahead and I made a stencil, and if you look, I have on this one a flatter roof on this side instead of a pointy roof. I don't know that I've decided which way I like it. But if you haven't cut that one of these out, I recommend that you do, because it makes cutting out your wood part so much easier. Set my stencil aside for later. While I pulled the items out, if you haven't had the opportunity, go ahead and pull that stencil out and cut it up. Okay, so this is the card that I did. And we've got the trees that we're going to give those some clouds because they didn't come with them. And we also have our little van and our house. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is take your stencil. It will fit exactly into that third of a page space, and you'll have some more left over. And I want to encourage you to play with that wood a little bit, not for this particular part, although you could, but take what's left over and look and see at the neat things that you can do with this wood. And what I mean by that is that you can add ink, you can add pen, you can add lots of different things to make this look like a painted wood grain. It will still show the wood grain through unless you're doing it really dark. And it is actual wood. If you want it to have a little bit of maneuvering, movability, you can actually kind of bend it here and there, and it will become a little bit more bendy. That's the best word that I got for today. And if you don't, then you're going to just have a very solid piece to hold up here. So in this particular case, we want that solid piece. But if you like the idea of being able to place it onto something, you can do that with this. This is not stiff stuff as it actually shows when you first start out. So in this particular task, we're going to actually take that and put it right on to our paper. So probably the strength would be better, but please take that extra piece of wood and just play with it a little bit. See what you can come up with, because they're a lot of fun, and they come in a pack of 10, and they have all different kinds of wood types. So I really encourage you to take a peek at that. Okay, so let's get started. Yep, I'll get started as soon as I find my ink, which I had to put on my right because you got to work on your left around here. Being left-handed, it can be fun. Okay. All righty. In the notes with the kit, I wanted to make sure that you had these set aside for you fairly close by. Is a blue ink pad and a black ink pad. So those are the two that we need. It does not matter which blue. And in fact, we're going to talk about the reason why it doesn't matter which blue. And there's some neat tricks that you can do. So I'm going to take one of our little sponges, just our little tiny guy, and I'm going to take and dab it right onto my ink pad. And I'm going to do a little test, because I don't know, that might be too bright. Yeah, it's looking a little bright. But what happens if this is what you've got? So these, because they can have added water, and this I didn't make sure that I had, so give me just a second and I'll get the spray bottle and I'll be right back. So one of the things that you can do with your with your sponge is you can get a little bit of your dark blue, spray it, because it is water, it's a water base. You can then go through and look at how much lighter that can be. See the difference? So it doesn't matter if you've got a dark one, great. If you don't and you just have a lighter one, perfect. I want a more subtle blue sky, but it's really your choice. There's no right or wrong. But if you hadn't known this trick, I figured I would share it with you guys. So I'm going to go through and put on this right through here. And you just swirl it around. Clouds don't have a plan when they go to come across the sky. My husband and I were driving. We took a little bit of a break on his vacation time, and we took and went across the state and did a little bit of camping. And when we went, there were some really neat clouds, and there was snow on Mount Hood. But what was interesting um, is that it had three clouds that were just kind of sitting right on top. It was really interesting. You didn't quite see the clouds themselves. It just looked like Mount Hood had Cool Whip sitting on the top of it. So there it is with our sponge. Pretty quick, pretty simple. Okay, so here comes the hard part for me. Putting these things on and getting them right the first time around. I am the worst at cutting, so I will tell you ahead of time that my cards tend to drift with the cut a little bit, and I don't know if that's the left hand portion of it or what, but my hand does drift, so bear with me if I get a little crooked. I have a handy dandy cutter right next to me, so we'll just let it do its thing. Okay, so this cardstock is not thick, and there's a reason for that. We're putting a fold in it, so our card itself is already going to be plenty thick, and so we don't want to have yet another cardstock on top. So that is the reason why it is the way it is. And it doesn't matter what section you do. If you want to cut ahead of time, before you put it on your card, if you are one of those people that drift like I do, it is 7 inches by 5 1/8. But we're doing the trick of you put it along its edge, push it up onto the tape, and here we go. Here's the cutting. And I did try very hard to make sure that these, when they printed out, that there wasn't a lot of white space up near the top, because you don't want your background being all clouds. Okay. If you have a bone folder handy, that will help you with this next part. But if you're like me right now, I forgot to grab one. So we're just going to take it and literally fold it right in half. It's not going to be right or wrong, just right in half. And really what a bone folder is doing is trying to help keep cracks from occurring. You can use scissors. You can use pretty much anything that you want. Hey, I could use my card. So again, no rights or wrongs. You just want to have it have that little bump. And you'll notice that you don't see it in this one. The little bump is pretty much hidden by cars and houses. So you don't have to worry, oh, it's not laying flat, or oh, hey, now I've got this ridge. You won't see it in the card when you give it to them. So this is where we're at. Am I going too fast? Hopefully not.
No, so.
Okay. All right. So this little guy is going to sit right along here. You want to make sure that when you attach him that you are only attaching the bottom half right through here. So make sure that you keep your little guy right. I'm putting him right here at the back end. Rip and tear. And I'll be quite honest with you, I use craft style tape all the time because I can tear it off of most things and put it back on if I make a mistake. However, because this cardstock is a little bit thinner, you can't do that with this. So you gotta do a little bit of finagling in it. Okay, there you go, right there. I am going to take and put my thank you on it. And I did send various different prints of wood. I shouldn't say prints because they're actual wood, but different styles. But I kept them all light. And part of that reason is so that you could put your thank you and not get it lost in the saying. So we have a thank you. I love this copper with it. It just looks so pretty with the wood on top, or underneath, I should say. And this is the star form thank you in copper. And pretty simple, right? Pretty quick, but it looks so cool when you're done because nobody expects this. So now you're going to take your van, and I have die cut mine, but we'll do it once because I want to make sure that for those of you that haven't had the opportunity to do a lot of die cutting yet, that you'll have the ability to quickly see what we do when we run them through the die. Okay, so I believe that there should be 4 vans of each type of the Scooby-Doo and the other. I know that we've talked about that I use washi tape. This one is a Scotch masking, but it works really nice too. Okay, just pop that little guy right here on the plate. Put the other plate on top. If you're using the Cut and Go Pro, this is something that you may not know. And that is that when you put and you make your sandwich, sometimes you need that metal shim inside or a secondary piece of cardstock. We're going to see what this will do. It's a pretty simplistic die cut, so you shouldn't need a lot of extra pieces in here. It should just cut it really nice and cleanly. But the crazy thing about these is that they cut better if you flip them upside down and have this really thick white part on top. And I have noticed that in the automatic as well, they have it set up to do this way. And so if you want, you can run this through your machine so that your rollers are going through. And I find that my plates don't bend as much. Of course, that flip over that I've told you is my trick too. Just flip your plate so you don't forget it later, because as soon as you take this little guy off, you're going to forget to flip that plate. So you flip it on the way through, and then that is what you do. So we've got our little guy right here. And I didn't give him too much in the way of dimension. You can absolutely cut off tires and and so I think we're going to do that on this one compared to our first, because I have two of them here. I think I'm going to cut my tires out of the first one that I had.
Mary R also uses washi tape.
Yeah.
She bought from Debbie.
Yeah, I love it. Debbie likes the tape. And so I think that it just becomes a preference for what you find that you like or something that's familiar to you.
Catherine's saying goodnight because it's getting late in France.
Good night, Catherine. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so because I have these two little tires, I'm going to get one of our little balls to give it a little bit of space, and I don't have a little foamy piece anywhere near me, of course not. And so I'm just going to kind of push in my hand a little bit. Okay, and there's my two little van hubcaps. That makes it a little fun, something extra. You can cut out your sign that says delivering fresh. You can use that as well. I think that I saw that my mom and Emma are online. So hi, Mom. Hi, Emma.
And James.
Oh man,
Get
here. Everybody. Okay. There we go. Mom had come up and I was making the teacups for the class when she was up visiting a couple weeks ago. So, and she likes a good teacup as much as I do. Okay, got to move to skinnier tape because that craft style is just too fat. And you could put this up on foam squares, but since I did the little wheels, I don't want to make this too fat, because if you have like a little gift card in there, or I know that we were talking about you could do a possible gift card for something, but you can also, at no extra charges, you can just slip, instead of giving them the tip that's online, you can give them something when they deliver to your door instead, and you can actually get a pre-done $5 Visa cards, so they can use it for what they want to use it for and still have it accessible, but it's not money in the pocket. So there. Just like that. Pretty fast. Pretty neat. And I just put it back on my old one.
What you were doing. I thought, oh, well, that's a shortcut.
That is a shortcut. Okay, let's try this die one more time. You can't take me anywhere. It's just kind of crazy.
Well, I think they probably get the idea.
Yay!
You just had a template of where to put it.
I did, an exact space. That was just too easy. Okay. Okay, great. There you go. Upside down. Run it on through. Look, so you get to see me die cut it anyways. Okay. And this is one of those opportunities that, see, you catch up with me.
It was all pre-planned.
Yeah, I planned it that way. Okay, well, now we're going to go with the dimensions the other way, and we'll make it not have its hubcap sticking out. We'll let the extra piece that I cut off stay on. I fiddle with these a little bit, and I always tend to just kind of bring them around. And the reason for that is that you never have something that's completely stationary, right? You've got areas of a car that stick out and move different directions. So I always think about, what does a car look like? What is it that you're doing that's going to make it um, seem more three-dimensional instead of flat. So this particular case, since I did the great thing that I did just a minute or two ago, we'll take that one that I cut its wheels off of, and we'll just put it right on top with the hubcap. I mean, with the one I just cut. And I know we've talked about this before. I like a lot of foam squares, so it also means that I have to peel them all off. Okay. If I put it on there again, you better stop me ahead of time, Bryce. I'm counting on you.
I don't know. It could be entertaining.
It would be something that I would do, that's for sure.
That says the pressure's on, Bryce. Your mom suggests coloring your silver stickers to the color to match her project.
Yes, absolutely. And we've talked about that a couple of different times before.
Good point, though. She
yes.
points out watercolor markers don't work.
Correct. And you have to use an alcohol-based marker. So if that's a Sharpie or you have an alcohol-based marker, I've never tried a gelato, but I think a gelato would work too. Okay, so there we have our thank you. There's our little house. And because it's handy and not really bulky, I'm choosing to cut with this today. Make it. Otherwise, I got to pick up the other thing at the other end, and there's just not a lot of space, and I'm not used to the work space being limited to the left corner. Okay, am I complaining about the left corner enough today?
Just a little bit.
I'm not cutting it to be absolutely exact, because when I put it in the card, I can always cut off the end. Before you put it in, though, we want to make sure that we have a reinforcement already pre-cut for that card to slip into. So if you look at this one, I have a little flap so that I could stick the card. I used it for a folder here just a little bit ago. Of course, now it's not here. Got up, ran away. There we go. So if you see here, it can just fit right in there. I also put in little tiny slits. Oops, little tiny slits on each side. And this is where I realized that a piece of cardstock is not going to work as well as a piece of paper will. So you can go through kind of find where you think that it should go approximately. And I just followed the diagonal of the piece. So if you look here,
well, don't you want to see where your stopper's going to go? If you get that too high.
You get it too high and you might not do it. Yeah, that is a very strong possibility in this particular moment. But I'm committed now. And you do not have to put one up here. I just did that way so that it would make it easier for me to be able to hold it in to show you guys. I think that these will stay in just great. But if you want that little bit of extra, it's there for you if you need it. So the other catch to that is that you need to know where your slats are so that you don't accidentally glue those sections down. Yeah, I don't know why. They're so picky. Okay.
The girl is joined.
Hi, Kathy girl. How are you doing today? Yeah. Okay. Then we're going to do the good old fashioned attach it on in. You can attach this to the base of the card at the bottom when you're done. It does make the card a little bit harder to slide in. Personally, I like it that I can go through and go through and do it at a later point in time. Another way that would make it really easy for you too is this way I get my little slit right where I want it, like that. Once this is in and I know that it's doing well, then I can do one of two things. I can put it back here behind the card and make it a double sticky onto the paper so that it doesn't fall out. Or if you like the idea better of having a little bit of looseness to them, because liners move. So if you aren't careful, you can end up in the fold lines, and you don't want to stick your card ever quite all the way up until the fold lines. So you might have noticed that I did my tape a little bit further down. It's right along in there. Not only does it give me stability for the back, but it keeps that liner from being told that it can't move a little bit, because liners tend to do that, in my opinion, just a tiny bit. And now it's all sealed down and we won't have that movement anymore. And your little slits should hold just fine. So there you go. I do like the 2-dimension van, even if it's not the 2-dimension van with the neat hubcaps. But hey, I did notice that it sits quite nicely right along in here, so that you don't need a stopper like you would for a typical easel card, just because it's got that nice stiffness in the front. If you really want that to show, then you will need to put in a little foamy or something to sit up there where your card is, to keep it that high. But you don't have to. And this was not necessarily an advertisement for Walgreens. It just it was a handy one in my purse when I got ready to do it. So that is one down. I feel like a whole bunch more to go. Okay. So we're going to set these items aside. I find that if I end up with too much paper in front of me, I lose things. So in the garbage they go. Makes it faster. Alrighty, so we've got two Scooby-Doo vans. I'm not going to run these through the die cutting machine unless I try and put it on this one again, like I just did with the last one. But here is our card. And man, I just looked at that and I just thought, Scooby-Doo van. So here we are. We're going to Scooby-Doo. Alrighty. You're going to take your sheet out of your magazine. And for this one, I didn't want as much color as this had. I wanted to kind of make it a little bit darker because I've got a darker background, my stickers and things, and I wanted it, and in fact I didn't take the time to darken it as much as I wanted to. But you just take and you add your black ink right on top and follow it through with your sponge. And now I've got a much darker, and again we'll follow it through again. We'll do it a few different times. And then that one went up like this and darkened out as well. You won't have to go all the way that far because we're actually cutting it before we get to the sun. You want that pretty dark. Makes the Scooby-Doo van really stand out. Okay. So it's kind of neat that you can just change your colors. And this one is a water base ink pad, and I'm using that to show you guys what it looks like. But you can do it with your Pink Fresh, your hybrid one, and it will make this a lot darker. But I knew that everyone at least had this one or one like it. Everybody's got a black one out there. So if you have your hybrid, that is great, and I would encourage you to give it a try, test it out, see which one you like more. Okay. So this guy,
Kathy's asking if Emma is here helping today.
she is not here helping. She's hanging out with my mom and dad this afternoon, and my hubby husband, you know, the one that I'm married to. Yeah, that guy.
Versus the one you're not married to.
I guess so. That just didn't come out right, did it? I am very fortunate to have the husband that I have. He's a pretty great guy. Sometimes he keeps me a little grounded when I'm going, ah! It's helpful.
Yep. We all need those people in our lives to ground us.
Yep, absolutely. But he says the same of me. So I guess that gives us the perfect matchup, because when he needs it, I can offer it. And when I need it, he can offer it. Okay. I'm going to do a double cut here. You ready, guys? So I'm just going to take and put it right about here. There really isn't a right and wrong, other than that you got to get it all the way to the other end of your card. So let's see. And I think that I actually had cut the card just a little bit when I was done, but we'll see. Yep, paper doesn't go quite far enough. Now, my ink seems to be pretty dry, although I will say that it's sticking to my fingers, so probably a wipe would be handy. So now I've got 2 straight lines to cut. That's just fun. Okay. Got it with my scissors a little bit. I will make a confession. At home, I use my cutter for all these lines. I am just always terrified that I'm gonna get it crooked, and if I get it really crooked, then I gotta fix it, and then so the things we tell ourselves, right? Okay. Okay, so we have our Dazzle sticker right here. Lots of goodies that are left over for you to be able to use. You can actually use a portion of this gate if you want to. It's got a picket fence that's black. It's really cute. But I felt like it was a looming haunted house, and I knew as soon as we had it that this is what as soon as I saw the van, that I thought this is what we're doing, because I knew that we had this downstairs. Peel it on out of there.
It's a big sticker.
It is. It's a very big sticker. So see, look at that. And we're going to put him, and remember how I said we're just going to pretty much block the sun out because we don't want all that brightness shining its way on through too much. It's a dark haunted house, right? This is one of those pieces that because of the height, we're just going to cut off. If you don't want to cut it off, you can put it all the way down here at the bottom. If you do that, though, you still have to cut off the steeple that's on the very tip. Black just wants to jump right out and grab me. Okay. Alrighty, and then we have our little van, and roll it on in your fingers a little bit. If you don't like doing it on your fingers, you can absolutely do it with your little ball piece. If that feels a little bit more comfortable for you, or you want something that's more defined. If you want to get that line in your van, you can with a little bit more rubbing. And you don't have to use a second van in order to get that dimension. You can actually do the same thing with the little ball to the wheels. But I just like the ability to have a little bit of forgiveness in case I push it too far or push it too hard, and then I have to start all over again. Okay, other card completely away from me where I can't possibly put it on. That's too funny. right in there. And then we're just going to find a few little bats. There are 3 of them on here. 1, 2. There he is. 3. I think that there are a couple other ones, but I liked these guys. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. You can put them anywhere you want. And then right inside, you can take this beautiful, very detailed. I love the little spider. Boo. There you go. Alrighty. So looks similar, not exact, but you can do this and create that darker black if you want it blacker. Oops, oops, oops. Can't even see it, huh? So there you go. Okay. Alrighty. How many of you had the opportunity to do the fussy cutting? Hopefully you guys had the opportunity. If you didn't, this is the perfect time to, after I give you what you're supposed to fussy cut out, after I give you those directions, you should pause right about now and go ahead and fussy cut these out. So here are fussy cut pieces. It goes into this card right here. Isn't that pretty? It was just a regular paper that was in there and I just couldn't pass it by. So this is our fussy cutting. You will find on your page, it's cutting out this one. Just go ahead and cut right around that white. If you didn't have a chance to fussy cut out yet, there's no right or wrong with this because it will still show up as a 2-dimensional, but I actually left my little piece of pink right down in there so that when I put it up on a foam square, it actually kind of made this piece seem like it was sticking out a little bit too. So there's our first fussy cut. Our second fussy cut is right here. And I left a couple pieces in specifically so that I could talk to you about some of the things that you can do when you're fussy cutting that makes fussy cutting so much faster and easier than what we usually think of as fussy cutting, especially this fern. So one of the sheets is going to be, you're going to cut it out all over these 3 items. And then the other one you're going to leave whole because this is your base. Okay. So when you are fussy cutting, I'm going to start with the bigger one first. When you are fussy cutting, keep in mind that you don't have to follow every little tiny piece to make sure that it is the exact right way. It will, especially when you have these pieces that are going on top of the exact same thing, they really join in together and look really pretty. So if you are keeping, and I want to cut out that purple so that it doesn't show. But there's no true rights or wrongs with it. And the other part is go ahead and kind of weave back and forth a little bit with your fussy cuts. And by weaving, you don't have to worry about cutting a straight line because you're kind of just moving it back and forth. You can always go back in and clip out a piece of color in this particular item since it's white with little bits of dusty rose. Okay, like here, I've got a little bit of purple, but I don't think that it's going to do too much. I don't think that you're really even going to notice it. So it's not about being perfect with your fussy cutting. It really makes fussy cutting so much faster. So if you haven't fussy cut, like I said, right through here, this is a good time to put it on pause. I have one more trick to tell you before you do fussy cutting of your fern, if you haven't already. Uh, with ferns, they're a little bit thinner in the middle stalk area, so you can actually take a piece of glue and run it along the back side. I cut some of this out before I started cutting into it. Um, but you just go through and you put a little trail of glue all the way up the stem line, and it helps give it that support that you don't have to worry about. I'm down to a very, very thin line of paper. When you're fussy cutting these, you're going to go on a white background. So if you don't get your fussy cutting all the way, that's okay. You really won't see it. I absolutely promise you will not see it. Okay, I didn't cut into here, and I apologize. I don't know if you can see it really well. But let me see if I can get the zoom to work here really quick. Bryce had to step out for a minute. Okay, perfect. Alrighty. So what you do is that when you are going in to do these white pieces of fussy cut, you just run right along that green mark. It's okay if you cut into that darker line, it's not going to stand out. And if you notice, I don't do too much cutting, and I don't choose to clip really tight to in here, just because of how close it can be. But I make a little tiny clip of that side, and then I push this back and I pull it. And your glue on the back is going to keep your stem from breaking off. But by doing this little trick, you can just literally pull the white out. So you don't have to fight so long to do it. Does that make sense? I'm going to try one more time because this does bend a little bit. You work your way right through here on one side of the green and just kind of follow the line of the leaf. This one is so tiny right there in the middle. See that? See, really, really tiny. So I'm going to take it and I'm just going to pull the white, flip it over. I do this without flipping it over, but you may want to for the first few times if you've never done this trick before. So go ahead, and if you're watching this and you're at home and you have the ability to pause and we're not live, then I recommend you pause now and get your fussy cutting finished now that you have some tricks to it. And the rest of you get to watch me while I finish this. But I did want to be able to show you guys what I do, especially with foliage. It can get so picky, and I'm a very picky person, so I don't like when the white shows, or I don't like when I can see a line that I didn't think was supposed to be there. But I promise you, when you are done, you will find that you don't notice those lines at all. So I apologize, Bryce. I moved in your here.
Moved what?
I moved in closer so that you could see my hands on this. So
That's fine.
you may have to move it back out here in just a few seconds. Oops, I did. I got him. And I have just cut it twice. That's what happens. But that is quite all right. We'll just fix it. What do you do when you cut off half of your foliage? Yep. One little bit on this still. This again is one of those places that rather than worrying about if I get the lines right, just follow the shape of the drawing. And so long as you're staying in that line, you won't have to be as picky as you think that you need to be. Okay. Alrighty, so there's our fussy cutting. And now we get to put the base of the card together, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Wrong one. Not here. That's this one. Bear with me, guys. Make sure that I got what I need. Okay. Okay. So first things first. You're going to go through, and actually I think I'm just going to put it right on. You're going to take your purple half sheet. If you put it on this way, there will be a little bit more white that may show around. If you put it on this way, then it will show the white and the edge right here a little bit more. But that is quite all right. This is the way that I'm going to choose to do it. You get to choose which way you think would be best after you see what we do. So if you notice, they're all along here. You can see the purple, and it's all jagged. So even if there's white in certain places, and you can see a little bit of the card through here, for example, that's okay. We're giving it a torn look. So I like the white at the top and the bottom because that's more in line with how you look at pictures. Usually you've got a little bit of a line at the top and a little bit more white down at the bottom. I mean, think of even books that you read, right? So I'm just going to go right on here, and I am giving myself a little bit of leeway. Can you see? Right up here, I'm giving myself about 1/8 of an inch over so that I've got the ability to tear it. Okay. So I just start out, and I may need to come back in and tear more, but just go ahead and start it. Don't be afraid to get in there and tear. Oh yeah, see, look, I got a lot of room still. So just run along and hold your edge and weave it back and forth. So put one finger down and away we go. And notice I pull the paper up and then pull it back around. If you do it the other way, you're going to find that you will have an undercut of the purple, and then you don't get any of the white look to it at all. You'll just end up with torn purple. So give it that time to be able to pull it back. All right, this side, same thing. We're going to start pulling. I kind of do it as a ripple effect, back and forth type of a feel, because if I do it that way, then I get a little bit more okay. And you're still going to do it down here too. You can do it up at the top as well if you want. I'm going to leave it this particular time. I glued that down good. Good night, Thelma. I hope that your therapy goes well. I know that you're looking forward to being able to do that. So good. Okay. So there's our tear. I did catch it just a little bit too far up in here. So I'm going to put this little tiny piece back on. Okay. So now I'm going to take and put my paper. Now keep in mind, we want to keep that fern in for the inside, this piece right here. We want to keep it in for the inside part of the card right here. So what I did was I took and I cut one of my pieces of pink, and it is 6 1/8 by 3 1/4. Okay, 6 1/8 by 3 1/4. And then I cut my paper down to match that really closely. You want to go in about 3/4 of an inch before you cut it. Anything more than that and you won't have. So I cut my one, I cut 3/4 of an, I moved my other paper. This is how I did it. You guys can decide if you like this idea or not. But I create kind of what I'm wanting to see, and I'm thinking, okay, that'll be half. I'll cut that in half by putting it on each way, and you just run it on down. So then it's so nice and easy, and look, it's fit in perfectly. I tend to like to see mine happen see it actually happen in front of me before I have to stop and think about what my numbers are for cutting. Sometimes it's just nice to go with it. Okay. In this particular case, I'm going to use a tape flag for the interior. So why do I care about doing this piece first? And it's because whatever you have left over is what you've got left over for your front. There's no more. So in this particular case, you want to do this one first and then the other one. Okay. Looks like I've got a little bit of that pink right on the edge there, so I'm going to cut that out. No, this is not the usual little cutter, but it makes it easy when I've got this much space in my this much in the area. Okay, so I want to go quite a bit lower, right? Because I want to see that purple and I want to see the purple tear. So I think I'm going to take off 1/2 inch each direction. And I'm going to take it off of over here, working towards my left again. Okay, I'm going to take and I'm going to cut this piece off versus this section off because we've already got a fussy cut here and a fussy cut here. So I'm going to take about 1/2 inch. Why not? 3/4. Let's see. And I think which way do I want to go here? I think I'm just going to take a little bit off of each end because of the print. So 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. Now, yes, my math says that that's 1/2, but I'm not sure if what I'm needing up and down in comparison. So still need a little bit more up and down, right? But it is really close. And I did also give it a little bit, I didn't do that actually. My thought was to give it a skew. So I think I'm going to do that this time. But I think I'm going to take a little bit more off the top. Okay. Now, you can choose how much you want it to go askew. And I tend to like things right side up, but right now I'm doing it upside down so it makes more sense your direction. So I just choose which way I want to turn my paper. And I know that that sometimes is affected by what handedness you are. So it depends on what looks good to you. Okay. Now the cool part about being askew, and this little piece ends up being 5 1/4 by 5 1/4, by the way, what we start with. And then you can cut down from there if you find that you need to still do a little bit of cutting. But that gives you an idea with how much purple that you might want to take off or how much paper you're going to cut off. So I'm going to go back to those tape flags again, folding the unsticky part. And I'm going to encourage you to think about the idea of thinking about, do I want this to be torn on the edges of this flower? So it's going to be what sticks out to you as what you want to do with it. So you have to cut off anything that's sticking over the top with the skew or else it doesn't work. It won't fit in that envelope. Okay, little tiny snippets. Look at that. Got those 2 pieces. I did have a happy Easter on this one. However, I could not find any more. Couldn't find any more in the gold when I was looking for them very quickly the other day. And so when I was making the kits, and I had unfortunately had my number torn off at home. So I couldn't recall what that number was. And Debbie was on a live stream for you guys. So loving thoughts goes right there. So what are we doing with these ones that we had to cut out, right? Craziness. Okay. you go up and through, and you're going to take and you're just going to cut lines in them. Why am I doing this? Well, because this is going to give you that um, that 3D effect with a 2D object. And let's see, I'm going to cut that line. It really is more about what you think will look nice. It's not about following and cutting every line. And in fact, if you cut every line, then you're going to end up having things fall off. So you don't want to do that. Okay. So this is where I'm ending, but I go through and I could use the ball, but I just find that by rolling and pinching and rolling and pinching, that by doing that, you get almost like a fluttery look to your flower. So I use my ball piece when I'm needing it. But this really just works with doing the ebb and flow both directions, some up, some down. Break down a little bit of that fiber in the cardstock. It's got that ability. It's a good quality and well done cardstock, so it can handle that pull and push. And if you think about it, when you do like those curling ribbons, right, you run your scissors down it. So this is another way. Just take your nail and run it through to break down that fiber. So that's really what you're doing. Give it the flit and flutter. And I want this one to go up and curl. So if you're not sure what you want it to look like, or you're not sure how to lay it, I encourage you to go get a flower, play with it, see what you can do, see what it looks like. And besides, it'll bring a smile to your day, unless you are extremely allergic to anything that is remotely botanical whatsoever. And I am speaking of Debbie in this moment. Don't send her flowers, and don't and she's not going out to play with the flowers, but she can absolutely enjoy the art and do the same types of things as well. So some of these you may have to, because look, I gave it a lot of movement, right? It's got a lot. So you may have to do a double height with your foamies. I didn't want to give you twos or threes just because we're doing so many others, but I actually would choose, if it were my druthers, is that if you do have a 3 at home, or you have 1.5s, double this, and I think you'll like the effects. And I'm just, again, I'm going through where I know that I want height and depth. I'm going to peel. Try and keep them a little ways away from the edge. I put one a little bit closer than probably I should have here, because this will tack it down really tight. And again, you want to have that movement. So I've put a couple in stacks as I'm peeling, so that you can see what I mean by the thicker and the taller. That's only if you can get them off. Okay. So, all right. I also don't put my flower down directly. So if you see, here's where the flower would sit. I would cover up my words, but I knew that I was going to do this a little bit different. So you want to turn it because it makes it feel fuller. Okay, see? Look at how much that stands out. Right? Okay. I did not peel off all of my little foamies just because time-wise. And then if it still is giving you troubles with the words, or you have something where you don't want it necessarily, then you can always change it up. Go with the flow. I'm not always good at that, guys. Just let you know. Okay, there you go. That's the outside. Then on the inside, we're just going to take our paper. I made a liner paper. It's a little bit thinner. I made that just because I was wanting to be able to put it in and kind of just leave it when I was done. Some crazy form of cutting here. Just don't want it quite as bulky. Okay. So let's take another look at our inside piece right here. Okay, so we've got our purple liner, and it's going into a 6x6 card. So you can either cut it at a 6x6, make sure that you avoid the hump, or else it will fold and bend on you, and then you won't like that. And if you think about it, liners don't have to go all the way up or all the way across. So it really is what you like seeing. If you like a little indent in yours, you can cut your, what I mean by indent is, if you like a little bit of a line around that's white, you can absolutely do that. So you can do it at the top, and then you can leave it a little short here and a little short here. So you can have a little bit of a white piece all the way around. Okay, cut off the sides. And then all you need to do is take and put this, again, we're going to go askew. Since I put that one askew that way, I think this time I want to go this way. Just to throw off the person, just a little bit, because that's fun. Okay. And when you're going askew, again, just take it and go with it. Because once it's down, it's down. And the neat thing about askew, it doesn't have to be straight. Cut your ends off flat with the liner behind it or with the edge of the card because you don't want these pieces sticking over. There you go. There's your skew. Now I told you that it didn't matter whether my too close. Gotta cut it a little more. I told you it's okay if the fern broke a little bit. And that's just because we're putting this guy up on foamies. So by putting him up on foamies, he's not going to show that he's broken at all. Okay. So on this guy, you're going to fold them up like this. Put them up on one side. Not sure if you can see that, but fold it up on one side. Fold the other side up. Why am I so crazy? Well, because this will give your fern movement. Because the only place where this is actually attached is down that stem line. So if you fold it up and then roll it, some will go up and some will go down. If you don't like this little piece down here, you don't have to keep it in here. You can actually use it as one of your pieces up here. And I think I forgot to do that earlier. So this item on the front goes right here. And I cut it as well and just moved it. We can look at that again. But if you notice, it's got a lot of the same similar lines as this. So you can cut it off and use it as a third dimension technically, or you can leave it and just put it on with your fern. And in this particular point, that is what I'm choosing. And take that tape off, and then you're just going to come in, and the best way is you're going to go and you're going to take and be brave and just make a really thin line of that tape, of that foamy tape. I actually break that into 3 different lines. So peel off both sides, put it down. Okay, here's my other piece that broke off. I'm gonna fold that up, pinned it. Put him on in there so that he's ready to go. You know where he goes. Okay, and then the last little guy. I tend to curl and just kind of bend and curl the edges of this top one just because it's kind of what it does in nature. So more movement, you can totally cut those leaves if you want more movement. You can cut those leaves along the edges of this top as well. And it's actually got a little bit more of a base to it because they aren't so separated out leaves. It really just depends upon the look that you're going for. So here we go. I'm going to attach this right in here. And then we're going to run our foamy. And if for some reason your foamies, you're having trouble with getting them to stick because they're so tiny, remember that you can always use a glue. And in fact, that tip top, I'm going to take one of my regular foamies and just put it right here at the top because I think that it will hold a full one. And now you've got this beautiful bend. All right, so I have put, these are Nuvo drops that are on this one. It's the purple and the pink. This one is a pink Nuvo glitter drop, and this one is their, I want to say it's called Lilac Whispers. But what I did was I thought, you know what? It's fun to be able to pull from both kinds, and let's see what we end up with. So when I use these, I draw with them. Just use it and follow your dark lines and just draw it right on through. And then we're going to see which one we like better when we're done. So think of it as just coloring, and you're just applying some of that glitter to the insides. Now, you can't do this trick if it's not an opaque glue. So don't try this if it's, you'll just see major lines in your flowers. And you don't want that. But you also just don't want it smeared everywhere either. Hopefully that makes sense. Here, just the drops right in the flower. And this one has some reds and some blue glitters in it, and this one is called Cosmic. And this one I had just used regular clear glitter Nuvo drops. I think it might have had a little bit of yellow in it, but not a lot. Oh, it's coming off. Didn't feel like I was getting anything. Ah, there we go. A little tough though. It'll still be plugged. And again, rather than putting lots of it, it's just a really slow push with just a little bit coming out. It's not tons. I definitely have a little bit of a plug in this one. This one has been used many a time. There we go. I tend to put it just where they have dark lines. It kind of gives you the format of how you want that to look. If you put it on the dark lines, it gives it more of a shadowy look. So that is what we did. And let's see when it's dry, and let's see which one we think pulls out the colors that you like best. Okay, this one is really simple. And so I am not going to do a lot of conversation about this one, just because I know that we need to get moving on with the rest. Okay. Yeah. All right. This one is a 4 1/4 by 5 7/8 if you want to cut it out ahead of time. Otherwise, this is the one that was provided for you in a square, the little square. The bigger one is for the biggest size. There goes my lean. Woohoo! Okay. Now I have to cut the other part. Alrighty. And then this is one of the orange or peach colors of paper. It's just a regular cardstock. It is 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. And we have to make our bow because I do wrap it around the corner, and it is 18 inches of yarn. I've been doing some other stuff, can't you tell? It's 18 inches of ribbon. And so because of the size, I didn't want to go too big on this. So I did a 3, 3, 4, back to a 3. So just our triple bow. Don't slide off there yet. Stay on. Okay. Give it a nice firm pull. With this glitter yarn, with this glitter ribbon, it really holds into place. And so I find that I don't have to fight with these as much as sometimes I have to fight with the satins. Organzas, the crepe, all those do really great. And satins and I do not necessarily agree. it has it out for me. Yeah, that's what I'm sticking to anyways. Okay, so I've got 3, 4, and 3 tied in a nice little bow. And we're just going to go across the sides, just like that. Okay. They're talking about how much paper they have, I think.
Yes.
Sorry guys, I tend not to look up. I tend to stay focused. So please chat away. Okay. Now, since I did cut all of my teapots beforehand, my teacups beforehand, this makes it so much faster. So with these, if you notice this, and you might not have noticed, this isn't a teacup. You don't see the teacup. Now, it's obviously very apparent. There's a teacup. I promise we get like 3 teacups in the next card. So we'll have plenty of teacups. But this allows you to make something a little bit different. It gives you the chance to cut out and use just a vase. Because the way that Tattered Lace makes things, they have so many different ridges, just like around the tires, I was able to very quickly and easily just do a little clip. And then they release. And you can see exactly where their handle is. And I can hear my mom saying, "No, you're wasting a teacup." Well, that's my version of it in my head anyways. Okay. But I thought that makes just such a sweet little pot, doesn't it? Cut that out. So we'll do it one more time. This time, I'm actually going to cut around the flower, cut the hole out, because I want that one to be a really full layered 3 deep height. Okay. Of course, that's great until you lose the flower. Make sure that you take off the flower off your teacup. Okay, there you go. I just throw things away all which directions. Stylus. There we go. Okay. I do just a little bit on these, and if I knew where my foamy pad was at quickly, I would have grabbed it, but I totally forgot. So doing this on this type of a surface will not do you as well, but it at least kind of gets you started. So these have nice big petals. You don't have to really fight with them too much. So good news is you can do them with your fingers, but it does give it a little bit more roundness if you use your little stylus set and a foam pad. And I really just focused on seeing at every place that it had a separation and giving it a little bit of roundness. It makes it so much fuller. Your leaves can fold up, your buds can turn down so that they look fuller, like it's ready to bloom. I think that I'm going to call this a magnolia. I'm not positive if that's what it truly is, but that's what I'm going to call it. This other one that we cut out is going to be our second piece, but rather than make the pot stand out, we're going to let the flower stand out. And because these have so many different ways that they can go, I did keep all the rest of the foliage, but I did not tack them all down. So there's very little actually tacked on except for the middle. And I did that because I just wanted that fullness. If there's a spot where you could get away with tacking it down again and still keep your fullness, it would be right in here. So we'll talk about that a little bit more because it doesn't have that bend up too much for this area. See how tight those are? I can't really bend those, but I can bend the bud at the end. I can put my flower up and curve it around. By getting the pot part or teacup part off of there, it really gives this flower a little bit more maneuverability. And that is always fun. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to put one here in the center. And because I just don't get much movement out of this one, I'm going to go ahead and put one there. And I think I'm done. I think I'm just going to go up into this one and I'm going to put a double foamy because that I've already done such a steep buildup so that you can see it. I don't want to lose that buildup with pressure against the card. So, and it will give me just one more tacking down space. But that's it, guys. You don't have to. You don't have to tack it down anymore. And I'm going to tell you the same thing about the card part. Again, turn your flower just a little bit. It doesn't matter which direction you go, but just a little tiny bit, because look at how much fuller that is than that. If I put one right on top of the other, you lose so much of that. Look at that. You don't see as much, but if I just turn it just a tiny little bit, I've got a lot more. The other idea is that you can go the opposite direction too. So that really becomes however full you want to make it. I think I like this way. And because it's different, why not? Okay. Really fills up the little pot that way, doesn't it? Okay. So again, we're just going to tack on the bare bones minimums. You can still have it stick, but just find your areas that are kind of poking out the backside. I'm not even going to put foamies on this because I do want it to be able to stay a little bit closer to the card and not fall off. So I'm just using a regular tape. You could use glue here, but I'm going to be really honest with you. I'm just trying to make it quick because I know that we're pushing time. Yeah.
Yep, all six.
So here is our little pot with his extra little flower. And if you want, you can foamy up your pot as well, but sometimes that kind of gets in the way of the flowers. You have to test it, see what you like, see what stands out for you. Everybody has a different taste, and one's not right and one's not wrong. That's what gives us the ability to craft and make things so much differently. And that's why it's fun to share these with people around you, as we know, because our chats are always full of what people can do to make it easier. And I love that. Okay. Now that that is all done, I am just going to attach it to the back. Okay. For the next one, I'm not going to complete the entire card just because, number one, Bryce is staying out here for us because I'm not here to do this, and it's normally his cooking time, and he would already have dinner ready about, oh, now. So I'm not going to keep him completely. We've already talked about how to make the flowers stand up. So I really feel like take it and fly from here on the next card on your own for actually forming all of these pieces. Just so then that way we're not keeping you guys either until 6:30. And I'm already afraid that if we go through and look at all the different things that we have for the next couple of weeks, that we might be pushing close anyways. So I will do the best I can. Okay, so first things first, here's our initial card. It doesn't look very, I could have done a whole bunch more to the corners or put in some corner borders or glittered it up. That's fine. But part of the reason why I didn't do so much on the front was because I felt like I was hiding the present on the inside. So when you have all of this that you get to see, and nope, not that way, that way, there we go. When you have all of this that you get to see in the card, why do all any more fancy on the outside? Because I think that it takes away. Your choice. You can totally put congratulations or happy Mother's Day or whatever you would like to put on the front, best wishes. Sorry you're feeling well, get well soon, here's something to brighten your day, right? You can do these, kind of leave it open to whatever you want it to be. So with that said, I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you how to fold this card, because let me tell you, it took forever for me to figure out how this was supposed to go, which was right side up, which was upside down. I don't know why it was so difficult for me, but it was. And so because of that, and now that you've seen it folded, it makes sense. But when you're looking at it like this and there's no divots or pieces that tell you which way to fold, it is not as easy. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's actually, this is an 8x8 card, but I didn't realize that there's a whole outer piece to this, guys. Can you believe that? They actually have this with another card on the outside all the way around. I'd already made the card before I discovered that it had the 8x8. So we were stuck with what we've already done. So I didn't want to change anything else up to it. But I actually discovered it a couple of days ago after I'd already made these cards. So there's another 8x8, and you can actually really layer this card up. This is a craft style card. And uh, Debbie, I don't know. I don't know which craft style card it is. It's a stip. They call it a stipper. an inside stipper, I believe. But there's only 2 of them that have an inner stip idea, and this is the one that has the actual stairs. So first, you're going to want to take, and this is your front piece, okay? And then you divot this one in and this one out. Okay, so in, out, in, out. And because of the card, out on the left, in on the right. Once you get these peaks like this, you can actually start moving your card forward, and it kind of just comes into place from that point. Now, this is the easy way to get there. Try not to take my hard way, because it took me about, oh man, yeah, I know that I was tired when I was doing it, but it felt like it took me 15 minutes to figure this out, guys. Okay. Alrighty. So we have our pink to go on the front. You can cut that down to 7 1/8 by 5 1/4. And then that second border, as you can see it right here, our second one is we're taking a 3/4 off of each side. So whatever you do for the pink one, take off 3/4, top and bottom, and that's what you'll get in order to get that flower backing. I really just loved the pink to go with it. I felt like it brought out the flower. And I want you guys to know that it is the purple teacup, not the blue teacup, that I featured right here on the front, because I know that we have a lot of purple people. And if I haven't said this before, that is my husband's favorite color. So I think that I've said it. Now you can see here that I've still got a little bit left over. So cut it on down. I gave myself a little bit of leniency because I thought, uh-oh, what happens if I get it wrong on class? I can always cut another piece of paper at home, but I don't have that ability when I'm here. So I thought, give myself a little bit of stretch.
You just cover the back of your card.
Nope, it's there. Okay. I did. I had it upside down and backwards. Okay. Alrighty. So here's our front pink. Take your blue border cardstock. You should have a whole sheet of this with the blue and the purple. You'll have a lot more left over, and tons of teacups, depending on how many layers you want to put on for this card, because this card does take a lot of layering. And it's just because the flowers were just so pretty, and you kind of have to find a space to fill it in, because if you don't, then you won't have enough. This is my cheat way to make it about the right size. Can't do it upside down though. Okay, there's the middle right there. There is definitely an up and down and a side to side with this paper. If you look at it from here, it's really straight up and down. So the one thing is that it is okay that it's up, that it is so lined. Um, you could cut and use a lot of your paper to give it kind of a diagonal look. But because of the flower, it really does just totally work to put it right on here. Straight up and down. And the first time that I did it, I wanted to take it back off, and I thought this is going to look horrible, but I already had placed it, and I thought I'm going to stick with it and see where this goes, because it was so strong in its lines. I have the printing edge along the edge there. I want to get rid of that. Debbie, thank you for letting me use your scissors. I just totally got them all gummy. Okay. I promise I'll clean them off. Okay, here we go. Tape flags. Find your space that you want to line it up with. And then on it goes. Okay. And like I said, I'm not going to go through and mold all of these because you can do that on your own. And I cut out the teapots in just the same way. I gave it a little bit of roll here and there on the base. I didn't do as much because I knew that I'm going to put another layer above it. I clipped right here. See that? I clipped right there to get the handle a little bit looser so that it could have its own bend and have the flowers going the opposite direction here. Okay, so you're just going to, again, either roll with your fingers or use your foamies. And for time's sake, I'm going to leave the top layer off. Just like that. And I really do think that you could add some more to this. But if I added any more, I would have ended up going crazy with this card because there's just a lot to it, and you're really dedicating some time to get this completely done. I'm not trying to dissuade anybody. I really do feel like it is fairly quick, but if you want to make this fancier, please do. I just didn't feel like I had that time allotted on live. Okay, we're going to remove this flower all the way around, just like that. See, look at how easy that is to just break off. They really don't take much if you get just one or two clips on it. You're going to roll. You're going to do your great foamies just like we did with the peach one. And the cool thing is that as big as these flowers are, the petals on them, we can totally, even if I were to tack this down now, I could go back and tuck in and roll and do my foamies the rest of the way. So I have confidence in that. So I'm going to put a couple foamies right smack in the middle just to keep it in place. And again, I really encourage you, except for where you know that it's going to tack down and probably not be able to roll and move, that's where your foamies go. Other than that, don't do a ton. Okay, here's what it's going to look like if I put it straight up and down. You lose some of that. Can you see that? If I turn it just a little bit or put it upside down, I've just gained a whole bunch more. It looks so much fuller. And it also gives it kind of a different look too. So it's going to depend on which way you want to make that happen. Okay, but to me, I just feel like I can see all of these little, especially when you start rolling them and folding them up. Look, you've got extra little trindles all the way around. So, okay, this is where our handy dandy stencil comes into play. This one. The back side of this is not the right side. You have to, I gave you the, and I'll explain a little bit better when we take a look at it. But you want to take this, and even though this back end has a line, don't just put it on your paper and start cutting your colors, because if you do, you will find that you'll be short. This is a stencil for the front one, and you won't be short, but the back one has more width to the back end of it. There you go. And with the stencil, I gave you a little bit of play, so there will be some trimming that you'll need to do. And you'll notice that these colors, these two colors that you have, again, I want to point out this is a thinner cardstock. It is not your 250, 220, 230 GSM that you normally have when we send you your packet. It's because of needing to have that movement and not end up having a problem with them. Okay, so the first one you'll see, I'm going to show you right here so that it makes total and complete sense. You'll see right here that this goes right on. It moves in so nicely. Can't see it. We're too far away. Okay, there we go. Too close. Right there. Okay, so here's our stencil. At this point, it is upside down. It is not on this side. So the reason why I had it this way is because I'm marking it on the back side. I don't want to mark up my paper up here. What happens if I slip, right? What happens if my color runs? So I'm just taking my stencil piece and I'm going to set this aside. So I'm taking my pink, I'm flipping it on face, stencil. Let me make sure that I still have this right. Yes. Stencil with the black little lines up. And this is a perfect fit for this front one. So you can pretty much cut with a guarantee so long as you're not rushing and making not straight lines. Now, the stencil came about because it is very tight trying to cut it's tight trying to cut those little stairs right through here, right along in here. It's really tough to be able to cut. and have it already all tacked down. And if you don't have it tacked down, then it moves. So I felt like the best thing that I can do to provide to make it simpler without the frustration of it, I made the stencil piece to help with that. Give yourself just a little tiny bit extra. You can always come back and cut these stairs a little bit closer if you need to. But again, just leave yourself, it's not even 1/8 of an inch on the outside of your marks. And then that will guarantee that you at least have a little bit of leeway. Okay. Oh, look, it's my old paper, not my new paper that I printed with. Okay, that's quite all right. We'll go with it. Okay, if you look at right on here, everything you want to be inside, and I'm so sorry guys, because I want to make sure that you can see, you want to be on the inside of those lines that we normally would fold on, or else it will bulge and bend. When you open your card, you're going to see it. So make sure that you run your tape right along that edge. Okay, so here's my edge right here. You can see it. Make sure you don't go over where any of the bumps are. Keep it just a little tiny bit away from that. Okay, and then from here you can tape up the rest. See, it closes and it closes without a problem. But if you didn't give it that little bit of space, it won't. And now you can go back through once you've attached it and cut off any extras that you need to cut off. I've got a little bit on the top and a little bit on the bottom. For the most part, that's it. So that's pretty good, right? With that stencil piece. I really like this stencil piece. Okay. You are going to take, and the next step, we'll do all of our roses when we are done, but you are going to take and you are going to cut 1 1/4 strips out of the pink roses and out of the blue and pink roses, or lavenderish colored roses. So this is not the peach, this is the pink, and this is the blue. And you're going to want to cut 1 1/2 inch strips. From there, it's just as simple as putting some tape on them and sliding them right into place.
You're alternating the colors.
I am. So we'll alternate each one. And I know that I had already cut my strips a little small, a little not quite wide enough. I thought that I had them right, and I didn't. So you will see on mine that I'm not quite there, but very, very close. You also want to make sure that you have enough space because we're putting writing right through here. So you want to make sure that there's enough space for each of the stairs that has white on them. Because if you have to put this on and you don't have that little bit of white showing, you're not going to be able to read the word over the top of that rose. Okay. And that's why I recommend going in your strips, because then you can play with it to see, okay, what is going to look best, what will work, what won't work. So for me, I think the next one will work perfect if I just slip it right and put the words up at the top of this stair. Okay, so here are my two blues, and you can see right here, I'm going to put my little flowers all the way down here. Flip it over and I can cut the backs off because you can see where you need to cut. Okay, I'm going to tack down the front of the stairs now. I've got the one along the edging. Now I'm going to do the fronts, but I wanted to have that wiggle room beforehand before I tacked it down completely. Because what happens if your stairs are pushing against it because they're not quite the right size, or what happens if you know, you grab the wrong color and you have to pull it back out again. All different kinds of things run through my head. So I try and figure out ways that I can prevent as many limited mistakes as possible. However, I do still have that corner right there. So can't always have it right all the time. Okay. And then you'll want to do the same thing with the pinks. Okay. And it just goes here and it goes here. And probably what I'm going to do in order to fix this part is that I'm going to go with the blue, a portion of the blue strip that I have done, and I'm just going to tack a little blue right along the front edges so that it doesn't look odd. Okay, so we're going back to our stencil again, and this is why I say you don't want to just start cutting, because if you look at it, they're the right size, but it's a good 1/2 inch wider. And rather than having, I don't know if you can see that or not, it's about 1/2 inch wider than the actual stencil. And that is just because the back side has a little bit more space to be able to hold it upright. So it's just the logistics of how they made it. And the other part to that is that it's also seems to be a little bit shorter. And I don't know why that is, but you can see right here, see that little bit that folds over? I have no idea how that works because it looks even, but I cut it twice just to make sure, because I wanted to make sure that I could tell you what you needed to have. So this is now going the backwards way. We need to leave that extra 1/2 inch. So what I recommend that you do is you just go ahead and put it upside down. If you want to do that on the color side, you can, and write your lines around it, but it may not go as easy. So I am going to not only turn my paper over, but then that means that I also on the back side have to turn my stencil over. Remember the other way it was the other side, and now this way it's on this side. It's really kind of a little bit of fun to play with. And you can test it. Put your stair in, flip it over, make sure that, yeah, my stairs are going to go in that way. You can lift this up. You can actually, boop, you can actually see your stairs sliding into place. So just in case you're a little nervous, and then give yourself the entire part of the back side of the blue. So mine is going to slide all the way up to that portion because I want it to be in the blue so that I have all the rest of this blue for it to work into. See that? I've got extra. So just in case I don't cut it the right size. So instead of going, whoop, instead of using your back section, you don't have to make this line at all. The cool thing is that it feels like it might be scary to do, but in reality, it's just about shapes and sticking with making sure that you cut where you need to cut. And hopefully I've helped you do that by giving you the examples. So here's my piece. I'm going to come back in. And I don't want to cut back here, right? I want to make sure. So I'm going to hold my hand here and I'm going to keep my thumb right there so that I don't accidentally do it. I'm going to just keep it sitting on this back piece because I know me and I will accidentally do things like that. Just as I say, don't do it. And since I don't want to cut my thumb, I'm pretty positive that I won't make an accident with that. This is counterintuitive because you think that you're cutting a little bit extra on the it feels like you're supposed to cut in here, but this is backwards compared to what we had before. So you're actually wanting to give yourself a little bit of leeway on the outside. And your snips are narrower. It's the exact same stencil. I don't know how it works, but it gives you, it's just a little bit more, a steeper stair. And it's possibly just because of the perspective. I mean, not possibly, it is. It's just that perspective, like the mystery house. I'm sure that everyone has one somewhere. When I was growing up, it was you go into the cabin and everything is smaller at one end and bigger at the other. And how did you shrink when everything still looks the same? I guarantee they have them everywhere. But when I was a kid, man, what a fun thing to be able to try and realize, to figure out. And the ball that rolled back uphill, right? It floated, rolled back uphill. How does that happen? I was amazed by that as a kid. So I'm sure that they still have them around. I wouldn't think that they don't.
Well, they have one down by between Grants Pass and Medford.
Between Grants Pass and Medford. That's what happens when you don't grow up around here. Okay, put my tape here because I don't know where I'm going to be cutting it here, right? So I'm putting my tape on the paper this time. It's literally just taking and doing the exact opposite to what you did here. It really, really is. Okay. Check it. Nope, I got to take a little bit more because I gave it that little bit extra. And I had to do this a couple of different times when making the stencil, was go through and say, okay, how is this going to work with the next one? Okay, how's this one going to work with the next one? So you just have to shave off and just keep rechecking it before you put it down. You'll be able to see it when it's ready. So I'm getting there. I just got a little bit more, but this is where it's hanging me up so that I can't push it down any further. But the other ones are looking pretty good. And I just recommend taking this off in baby steps. Take off a little strip, retest it. And you can see and feel where it hangs up. Still a little bit here. And a bit here. Okay, voila. And so you've just got a little bit of the back to cut off, and then you have this side. And I'm just using my cutter because it's faster for me. Okay. So I have my stairs already built in through here with the different prints, right? I didn't put them all on, but that's what I will have already done before I ever put this blue on. So it does matter which order you take your steps in. If you find, and keep in mind that this has the opposite effect, that just tape here, leave this part still open, but in this particular case, you have to worry about the bend in your stairs bogging you down. So if you see that you are in the fat spaces, and I can feel it right here in this part, it goes a little bit too far in. So I'm going to just take it and do a little bit of a trim, just tiny little bit. Doesn't have to be much. And now it bends. I have no more tension there that's causing a problem. Okay, so I'm going to go through from here. These are the steps in order to do this card. This one, go back through, put these on the stairs, get these sealed down. So, yep, and everything moves and folds the way it's supposed to. So I'm just going to go back, and rather than continuing to put everything back down on here, does anybody have any questions? Good night, Betty. I'm sorry. I know that it's taking a little bit longer. 5 cards on a Thursday night is a lot. Okay. I'm just going to talk about the flowers really quick, and then you can take and do what you want. All right. So what I did was I took and I put 3 of my flowers down. I cut out some of the pink ones. I cut out, in fact, on the blue, I used the pink, I think pretty much primarily. And you can use the blues in there too, and they blend quite nicely together. Yeah, see, this one I've got blue because I've got little blue seeds, and these are pink, this one. This one's a blue. So this is using your teapot, tearing off your flower, giving it a second layer with your foamies. This is just taking and you're running through. Seems crazy that this works, but it worked. I was literally cutting some of these apart and I went, oh, hey, this will work for that. I needed something up there and I didn't know what it was going to be. So remember I said that your teacup can be cut off? Well, these are when you use your these as your little topper pieces. You don't need the whole teacup because you need some of these to have the extra space. So you can just tear that right out. See, not shorted any flower part at all. But what it did was it gave me a space to be able to set these in. I clipped right here by the little twig, the little trindle. That's what it's called, the trindle. See right here? So I tore it off first. Make sure that you grab one that has enough of the flower. This one wouldn't have worked. See, it's missing. But this will make a great flower for right in here, right? But this part is what we need off of one of these extra flowers. And I glued it down here. It just fits in there so nicely and it just worked. And I was like, yes, it worked, because I just needed something to fill in that space. You can use some of your borders if you want. You can go through and do all different kinds of things. Have some extra time and fun when you play with this, because you can make this, again, you can make this whatever you want. And so this is literally just taking the flowers, taking the teacup off, pops right off. You don't even have to cut it. Going through and running your pieces and then putting this as your base. Okay, this right here is your base. And then you take and you use your extra flower right on top. Okay, that is how this works. Then you go and you layer on the next one and you do the same thing over again. Take and mess with. You've got 8 of these in each color. You'll have tons of fun and a lot of time that you can use to make these however you want them to look. I chose the blues and the pinks because that's what I had for my papers. But you can go through and your peaches will look just as pretty in the midst of this. Look at how much whiter that flower is. So you could use that as a base and then put your pinks up on top or your blues up on top, or the white one and having it sticking out to where it's something different. So you get the idea. Okay. I feel like once we talk about it, hopefully everybody else feels the same way, that you kind of know where to go with the flowers from there. So for me to just sit and do flowers on flowers on flowers seemed kind of silly. And I figured we could use our time better. Okay. Any questions that you have in regards to this portion, other than the fact that I'm going to come in and show you the difference in the stickles versus the cosmic shimmer. Not cosmic shimmer, excuse me, the stickles versus the Nuvo glitter. So if you look, okay, see on there, got the darker colors. It's got a little bit of color there, right? You can see it in the middle of the little guys there. And then there's this one. So they look different.
Yeah, but very close.
They're close. So if you don't have one kind, you can always use the other. I was really curious to see what this would do, and that's why I specifically grabbed the stickles. Somebody else might have a preference. So that's those two. Let's take a peek and look at, because I forgot to show you last night, these. Okay, these are for Saturday's class. They come from the Springtime Wishes, and it is called the Gardening Gifts, and it's a 2-topper class. And wouldn't you know it, it is sealed in here. One is butterflies, and I think that this is something to the heart. I apologize. I'm not sure that I know the name of it. Bryce is going to look it up for me. This has some cardstock on the inside as a liner.
Gardening Gifts and Heart Wreath.
Heart wreath. Okay. That one. And that one. Aren't these pretty? Grab your stickles, because I see that there are some stickles on the little wellies. This one has little gems on it. This one has a triple mat. I always like a triple mat. In fact, most of these have a triple mat. Aren't they pretty? And just so springy. So springy. Okay, next Thursday, so that you guys know what you're getting. This is part of the craft consortium, bluebells and buttercups. And we're going to learn a lot about craft consortium. And so we're going to really just truly dissect one of the books. We're going to take some of the decoupage. We've got some washi, and we've got a stamp set that's all included in this kit. I do not have an answer for price yet, but I did want to give you guys an idea, and you'll probably see it pop up on Monday with the kit. Okay, that's one. This is another one of the decoupage. Each person is going to get probably a different decoupage, a few of them, but a different decoupage animal. This one is the badger. But we've got picnic animals and lots of different things. And then we're going to go over and we're going to do some stamping and making those a 3D stamp by making our own decoupage with our stamps in order to get those all done, and the tips and tricks to be using what type of medium with which kind of stamp. So that's going to be important to know as well. And then I have a special card. It is actually, it looks absolutely fancy special, but it is really easy to do. And I will tell you, you would think that something that's extra special and just really rich in colors, that you would think that the donkey from our stamps, this is a different one I'm not showing you yet. I will have it up here hopefully very shortly. But the last one is pretty neat, and this donkey just seemed like such an oxymoron for a lot of people. Donkeys, you know, they're a farm animal, but it's a fancy card for this farm animal, I tell you. So that gives you an idea of what next Thursday will look like. And yes, we are so far ahead with classes. Can you believe it? And Debbie is, I think, working on a few while she's hanging out with your, she at least stole my ruler and a whole bunch of other craft stuff is what I recall from last night. So she's got the stuff up there, and she has done our Happy Easter cards for this year using the chicks And I believe that some of you saw these on Saturday.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah. And this is using a different type of hardy craft medium than what we've used before. And she's also using, I know that they're by Duty, but they have a different name. These little backgrounds that are here, I love them. They're so pretty. And those are by Duty. Aren't they just precious? Little wreath birdies. So this one for Easter this year, we were all about the bunny. And this year, we're all about the chicks, the butterflies, and the birds. Aren't these pretty? Lots of fun. It is amazing what you get out of this kit. She's got lots of options. So, any questions? And yes, thank you very much for hanging out with us, Bryce. I appreciate that.
Pleasure.
And I think that we're good. You will be enjoying Debbie's company on Saturday. And I will be back in to do the What's New Wednesday next week and class next Thursday. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it, guys. Have a good evening.